I did it. I was having a hard time figuring out how to go live again. I was like, wait a second. Hey everyone, what's up? I'm Coach Sarah Joy. And who wants to talk about nutrition? Who wants to talk about nutrition today? It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Today is going to be a great talk. I'm going to bring one of my coach besties on. Her name is Stephanie. And hi, what's up? Hey sweeties, good to see you. Are you ready to talk about nutrition and thyroid nutrition and overall nutrition? I have a surprise guest for you today. Hey sweetheart, how are you? So good to see you. So normally I do Thursday thyroid talks on Thursday, but my volunteer had to do something else. So that's okay. Good. You're welcome. So I decided that I wanted to invite one of my coach besties on today, Stephanie. She'll be joining us soon. So I decided to base today's live all on nutrition because food is such a hard topic for people that are struggling, us women that are struggling with thyroid conditions. But I also just feel like food and nutrition, hi Lauren, or Laureen, oh, sorry if I said that wrong. I feel like food and nutrition has become just such a hard factor in everyone's lives because number one, there's so much confusion, there's so many mixed messages. There's trendy diets, and then there's the trend diets go away, and then new diets come in, and then we hear all these horrible, scary things about our food and genetically modified foods and the dirty dozen and the clean 15, and there's like, fast food is so easy and quick and convenient, and it does taste so good. I get it. So when it comes to eating and nutrition, it just almost can feel so overwhelming that like you don't even know where to begin, and so overwhelming and frustrating that sometimes you don't begin because it's overwhelming and frustrating. Can any of you resonate with this? Have you been feeling this way towards food? What is one of your biggest food struggles that you experience right now? Let me send my friend a message and let her know that I am live. Let's see. Cool. So we're waiting for another coach friend of mine, Stephanie, to pop on because we thought it would be really fun to do some food talk. So in the meantime, while I wait for her, there she is. All right. Everyone, put your hands together for Coach Stephanie. Hey, girlfriend. Just send me a request. There you go. You know the deal, girl. She comes. Cool. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. It's just
hey.
Whoa, hi, sweetheart. Sorry, what?
I said, whoa, hello, zoomed in face.
I know. Hello. Good to see you. How are you today?
Good to see you too. Good. Literally just had our brand new washer and dryer delivered that we've been waiting for 2 months. So I'm so stoked to do laundry.
That's awesome. Is it one of those like front loaders?
No, I hate those things.
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of like we had kind of like the lower model for about 4 or 5 years. Like one of ours broke or something like that, and we needed one quick. So we just got like the cheapest one and just have kept it because it worked. But this one's got like an app because I don't know about anybody else, I don't know about you, but I always forget to change out the laundry. Like I'll put
I
something
mean,
in the
yeah,
wash
I
and I'll
do.
like literally could be hours and I'm like, shoot, I totally put that in the dryer. But this I have an app now and it'll notify me when it's ready. So
Nice.
excited.
I know, I know my thyroid warriors that struggle with brain fog and short-term memory loss definitely could probably resonate with that. So yeah, I'm with you on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
How about you?
I'm great. I'm really great. I have just been so I've I've been receiving a lot of messages on just struggle with food and struggle with
Mhm.
nutrition. And so if you saw on my stories, I was running a poll on, okay, there's two ways we can approach nutrition, you guys. We can do a celery juice challenge, or we can just do like a live master class. And I want to put together the master class, but you're also very knowledgeable with nutrition. So I thought it would be super fun to just come in and do some like live real talk about it because
Yeah.
I wanted to try to see how we could help like now, you
Yeah,
know?
totally. And for those of you who don't know, we, like you and I talk all the time, and we're like, we just talk about so much awesome stuff. Like, we should record these because it's so knowledgeable. Um, there's
Well,
a comment here from Lauren.
just how bad is drinking in moderation? I have Hashimoto's and EBV. I keep my diet really clean, but I do struggle with not having a glass of wine. Oh, I love that. I love that you said EBV. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
before we dive in, because I have so many new followers to my page, and they probably haven't seen our past videos, and they probably have no idea about who you are and what you do, or really who I am or what I do. So let's just start with some basic intros. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So my name is Stephanie Nelson. I am an anxiety freedom coach, and I help busy women overcome anxiety without medications so that they have the freedom to live their happy, confident lives. And Sarah and I both went to the same institute, so we have the same certification, and then we have also different backgrounds too before that. But yeah, the reason why, just really quick, the reason why I chose, to specialize in anxiety was because I was once struggling really bad with anxiety. And it was scary. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to be on medications because I did go on them because I felt like I had no other choice. And then once I started to dive into root causes and nutrition and all these other things, I was eventually able to come off my medications and overcome it holistically. And that's what I want to teach, the woman of this world. So in a
Mhm.
nutshell, that is what I do.
Yep, yep. That's awesome. And so if you guys want to see some of our collaborations where we've talked about overcoming anxiety, we even have what you're not taught about in your oral health. You can check them out on both of our IGTVs, but I have my playlist also really easily accessible on YouTube at Coach Sarah Joy. So, all right. Yeah. So for me, really fast, I struggled with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's for a decade. And after like just getting sick of the system and their lack of help, lack of answers, and realizing that the little pill I took every morning was not going to help me get any better, and that I was just sick and sicker and sick, and like bedridden. I decided to become my own guinea pig, and I started reversing my own illnesses. So I was a college student when I started doing this, and I was already studying health and fitness as my degree. And I was thinking that I was going to go be a dietitian, but I realized that my values and what is needed to overcome thyroid illness is not in line with the government's food guide, the pyramid, and what the government teaches registered dietitians. So I knew I needed a holistic, all natural path. And like she said, we both were guided in our journeys of wellness, and we found the Institute of Transformational Nutrition, which is basically coined the Ivy League of coaching schools, and it is accredited. It's amazing, and we both went through the CTNC program, which is, we're certified transformational nutrition coaches. And so I continued my education through ITN, and I love, and my values, both of our values fall in line with what they teach, which is whole body holistic approach to wellness, which means like body, mind, and spirit.
I know. I can't, like, I love that you brought up that you were going to school to be a dietitian and it wasn't really aligned, because I was looking at master's degrees in nutrition. And I'm so thankful that ITN fell in my lap, because what I would have learned and spent 3 times as much in a master's program for nutrition would not have been in alignment. It would not have covered everything that I would have needed to know in order to overcome my anxiety. And that's because it's only teaching nutrition. It's not teaching these other things. It's not teaching the psychology behind it, how to coach. It's not teaching the spirituality aspect of it as well, which they're all important to overcoming your whatever health issue, thyroid or anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now that we have that, our introduction's done. So I really loved what you talked about the other day on your reel. It really goes in line with my messages to my community, where if you're eating a diet that's very void in nutrients, then you're going to have a lot of health problems. So we could start there.
Yeah. So what she's talking about is I was vegan vegetarian for, I don't even know. I think it was 6 years. And the reason why I did it was because, oh, this is healthy. I want to be the healthiest that I could possibly be. And from the 1 or 2 documentaries that I watched and a couple books that I read, I thought I was an expert and changed my whole life and my whole eating, and didn't realize how detrimental that was, cutting out not only meat, but cutting out a lot of important nutrients. And one of those was fat. I was even on a fat is bad kick. I was like only sauteing my vegetables in water. And I was trying to get my parents to stop using their olive oils. I'm like, that's bad for you. And you know what a lot of people, and what I didn't realize at that time, was how much that is actually going to or can lead to nutrient deficiencies that will contribute to things like anxiety. A big one is an imbalance in your omega-3 and your omega-6 fats. They play such a huge role in brain health, and they play such a huge role in hormones. And if your hormones are off, that can also be a trigger for anxiety. Is there anything that you want to jump in with that?
Yeah, so as far as the oils go, I remember reading a book specifically just all about oil, and it was like mind-blowing. And so if I'm going to use a healthy fat, then I focus it on avocado oil and coconut oil. But I mainly always try to avoid canola oil.
Yes.
And so I would never cook with like a canola or a vegetable. And one of the main reasons is it's genetically modified. It's derived from corn.
Mm-hmm.
And so that right there, anything that's genetically modified, there's already tons of studies that show genetically modified organisms cause, oh my gosh, the health problems, the list. I mean, from cancer
Mm-hmm.
to neurological disease, so many health issues from anything that's genetically modified, but canola oil being like one of the top genetically modified products.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it also causes a lot of inflammation. And we don't want to put things that are going to cause inflammation in our body that's already struggling with inflammation. And, you know, like your bloating and your constipation, that's from inflammation usually. So, um, so for me, I really struggled with my diet over the years because I was reacting. I started reacting to foods. I first reacted to dairy with a lot of like congestion,
Mm-hmm.
and this goes into the nutrient imbalances too. Yeah, going back to what you said, the nutrient imbalances from poor diets is you will have, if you're missing vital nutrients in your diet, you're going to have problems with your health just from that right there. So that's why, like you said, you were struggling with the vegan and the super extreme diet of eliminating the healthy things that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to use this as an example. Jess is going to love this. She's on right now. Um, so this is an example of one of my clients' nutrient panels, and this shows minerals and micro and macro minerals and metals. Hi, babe. And so when you say nutrient deficient, like people don't realize that there's actual like real nutrients that go into your body that you need in order to function, like magnesium.
Mm-hmm. People,
Like,
a lot of people have the mindset that like food is just like, oh, it tastes good, so I'm going to eat it. We don't associate it with, oh, whatever I'm eating, my body is going to then take that and
yeah,
use it to help my body function. So if you're consuming something that's devoid of nutrients, whether you're on a vegan diet or whether you're eating lots of meat, but it's coming from McDonald's,
yeah.
that's also on the other end of the spectrum. You have to think about, can your body actually use those ingredients to help your body function properly, or is it just going to cause more chaos?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's like our body is built out of what we consume.
Mm-hmm.
It's the building blocks. What we put in our mouth is the building blocks of our body. It's our skin, it's our hair, it's our nails. It's it's who and what we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what what do you want your body to look like? How do you want your body to feel? That is what basically you're telling yourself with the foods you eat. So when you were a vegan and a vegetarian, thanks, Jess, did you avoid fruits and vegetables as well?
So I didn't avoid fruits and vegetables. I tried to eat them, but I also ate a lot of packaged foods. So I remember I had a kick there where I was eating healthy choice frozen meals for my lunches at work because they were easy, they were convenient, and they were healthy and vegan. Actually, I don't really know if those ones are vegan or vegetarian or whatever, but or I would do meat substitutes. So things that what I was thinking at that time was meat is bad, and then if it's plant-based, it's good. But a lot of that stuff was just processed soy, and soy is kind of like one of those things that you think that's healthy
Oh,
that really isn't. And that was one of the things that I used to consume a lot of. And it's highly processed, especially these fake meats. They're highly processed. They've got a lot of additives in it, which is going to create more imbalances with your gut. It's going to create more inflammation, and all of that is going to lead to more imbalances within the body that can lead to thyroid, that can exaggerate anxiety or give you more anxiety and other things.
Yeah, imbalances basically are the like perfect storm, like you said, for all of your health problems to like begin. Imbalances create, they start dictating the health of your stomach. They start dictating the health of your brain. They start dictating the health of your bones, your muscles. And so that's why we say, and we really have to hone in on the importance of your food, and what you eat truly is the foundation. It is the beginning of where your health begins or ends. It's your choice. So you have to really unlearn what society has taught you is healthy, because the majority of food nowadays is basically soy, like Jess is saying. It's basically soy. It's basically junk oils. Everything is, a lot of the products that we're consuming are genetically modified. And those are all void of nutrients, vital nutrients that we need just to grow our hair, just to have healthy teeth, you know? And so that's why you decided to go away from the vegan and vegetarian diet, right?
Yes. Honestly, I can't pinpoint the exact moment that I was like, oh, I need to start, consuming more, salmon and things like that. But it was something when I went to go see a functional medicine doctor, they were wanting to make sure that I was consuming healthy seafood like salmon that has a high level of omega-3s, and as well as supplementing, because when I had my blood work done, my omega-3s were very low, as well as other things. So yeah.
Yeah, so same with me. When I started pulling all of my own labs and trying to ask my body to show me what was wrong with it, I was super deficient in like so many crucial building blocks that my body needs. Let me see.
And I'm sure there's some stuff that can be difficult to test for in blood work too. So I'm sure that there were other things too with me. Like you said, like minerals, I feel like can be hard to test with the blood test. But you got the mineral analysis, which is really cool because that's going to give you a better indication of those type of things.
Yeah. I could have sworn I had it right here. Oh, I do. All right.
And you have to understand that when it comes to things like soy, corn, wheat, because we can talk about whole wheat too, which I used to think whole wheat was a good thing. A lot of that stuff is heavily sprayed with pesticides. And that causes another whole array of things. So when you add in all of these things, it's no wonder that we're so sick.
Yeah, exactly. And the pesticides, the herbicides, they are just so toxic, and they are so full of heavy metals. And it's just like a double whammy when you consume this stuff in your body. And so the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, they update their list annually to what's the most heavily sprayed crops. And I actually have done a lot of research into like, why can some produce be claimed organic? Why can some food be claimed organic, but others can't? What is the difference between non-GMO and organic, right? Well, the produce and the products that claim that they are organic, they actually have to invest a lot of money and resources and time in order to be able to get that label. So I do trust it when it says it's certified organic, and they are not allowed to spray the pesticides and all in and put in all of that junk on top of our food. But what I have learned is that there's a little bit of a gray area, and they still do have to use some bug sprays in order to protect their crops. So you still have to wash your produce. Not a lot of people still even realize you have to wash your produce. Like, you have to wash your produce.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
beyond the people that are just touching it and everything, it's doused in chemicals. Like, one non-organic strawberry is sprayed with 13 different chemicals.
Do you say non-organic?
I never ever buy or like non-organic strawberries
Me
or
either.
berries in general.
Yeah, me
But
too.
yeah, so Stephanie was talking about the hair tissue and mineral analysis. And so when we were talking about the building blocks of what your body needs just to be healthy and to fight off all this disease, this is what she meant. It's really cool to see an actual visual of what your minerals look like. So this is calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, iron, copper, manganese, zinc, chromium, selenium, and phosphorus. And then it goes into your trace minerals and then your heavy metals over here. So she was right, is, blood work is not the best place to test these things. But I do offer that in my program in order to see where your imbalances are. And so stabilizing your diet so that you can start to bring all of these nutrients back into your body is step number one.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that you've done? Like, how have you shifted your diet now?
Yeah, so some of the biggest things that I've changed is before I went vegan, I was eating a lot of processed meats. So then I did the whole vegan vegetarian thing. And now that I'm adding in meats again, I'm choosing the ones that are organic. So if it's ground beef, it's going to be grass-fed, grass-finished, organic. And the reason why you want to choose organic, there's like a little gnat over here, organic meat is because they're going to have less inflammation. So we're talking about you are what you eat. I love this quote. I think it might be by Sean Stevenson. You are what you ate. So if you're eating something that had a diet full of soy and corn and they didn't move and they're killed inhumanely, they're going to be full of inflammation in their tissues, and then we're eating those tissues. So you have to be mindful of that, and that's why eating the organic meats, that's why that's important. And it's going to have a higher nutrient level too. So when we're talking about fats, they're going to have a higher level of those omega-3s and less of the omega-6s. Now, you still need omega-6s, but you need it in a balanced ratio, and most people have too high omega-6 and not a high enough of omega-3. Another place that I shifted was the soy. I used to consume a lot of soy. I don't consume rarely soy anymore. What else? I used to consume a lot of whole wheat, and now I'm primarily gluten-free. And these are just some things, like when I started learning about them and then kind of testing it and paying attention to how my body was feeling and how my mind was feeling after I would consume different things, I could then make that connection for myself too. If I eat a lot of dairy, my stomach is upset. I'm not going to sleep as well. Same thing with wheat. And what else? Those are probably like the biggest things.
Do you avoid corn?
Yes. Well, I avoid most corn. If I do eat corn, it's organic. But again, that's one of those things where I've kind of made a connection of when I'm eating more of that, I don't feel as well, which is the key. And this is kind of what I teach too, is there's some things that you probably want to cut out for a period of time and probably forever, but you will get to pay attention to what actually works for you and make that connection for yourself, because that's the only way you're going to be able to move on long term, because our bodies are always changing and foods are always changing. So we need to have that connection so that we're not just mindlessly like, oh, my coach said to eat this or not eat this. Make that connection as to why, and why do I not want to eat that? Because I don't feel well. And I don't know if you find this, but I find that a lot of people don't really realize how bad they feel until they feel good. And then they sometimes slide backwards and they're like, wow, I don't ever want to go back there again because I didn't really realize how well I felt. And after doing, eating X, Y, and Z, I just felt like crap. Like my gut was off, my digestion was off, I had brain fog again, all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for bringing that up, because I always include a food and symptom tracker in my program, because it is so amazing how we just become disconnected and unconscious to what we're eating and our bodies. And we'll just go about our day kind of mindlessly eating, and it's like you just eat because you're hungry, but you don't really put much thought or effort into it, and then you don't feel good after a while, and you don't really put much thought or effort into like why and connecting the dots. And so when you do a simple food and tracking system, you're forcing yourself to really focus on like, what did I eat? How did it make me feel? And it's kind of twofold. Like, not only does it make you reconnect with your body and actually go, oh my gosh, I just had, some dairy and now I have gas. Or I just had some gluten. Yeah. I just had some gluten and now I'm unbuttoning my pants and I feel bloated, It just really brings your focus back on your body. But I think there's also like an emotional connection to that as well. It's like, food can also cause like mood swings and like emotional issues. All parts of our bodies are connected. So if we're eating foods that make us don't feel well, then we're not going to come across as feeling well either. We might be grumpy. We might be irritable. We might have anxiety or like be able to have panic attacks easier. Like you said, the brain fog, it's all connected.
Bad and irregular periods and cycles. That's a huge one too, which when you fix diet, that usually comes back into balance pretty quickly, I've found. There was a question about corn. Why can't we eat corn? So one, corn is highly genetically modified. So that's one of the big things. What is the reason for thyroid sufferers? Is it because it's chemically similar to wheat and gluten?
Yeah, so like you said, it is the top genetically modified crop. It was like the first crop that was like ever genetically modified into the lab. So the inflammation is number one. It creates substantial inflammation in our bodies. So there's so many derivatives of corn that I encourage you guys to look up a list of like ingredients that are connected to what comes from corn. Just as it comes out the same shape it goes in. Is that a fact? You cannot break that shit down. But not only is it it's synthetic. It's a synthetic food. The word genetically modified means that they grew it in a lab. And so when a product is genetically modified, when they create that in the lab, they infuse that seed that they're going to grow the crop with Roundup. Roundup is a herbicide / pesticide / toxic / death chemical. So I avoid it like the plague. And so then the other thing that comes from corn is the high fructose corn syrup, which is like the number one sweetener in everything. So, it's everywhere and in everything. So that is, even if you don't have an illness at this point, a lot of the foods that you need to avoid, you just have to avoid to maintain your health, even if you're just okay, your health's okay, because unfortunately our food system has been corrupted and it's just toxic. The majority of foods are just toxic nowadays.
Yeah.
And so we have to be aware of how they are turning our food supply into frankenfoods, and try to counter that by supporting the small, sustainably grown farms, the grass-fed. And so a lot of people say to me, oh, but I can't afford it.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and my comeback is like, every single time I go to the store and I spend $1 more or $2 more on buying grass-fed food or organic produce or the better quality products, you have to remind yourself that even though you're taking maybe $20 or $30 more out of your pocket right then to pay for that higher quality, better for your body food, you are saving yourself on the back end a ton of money going to the doctors and co-payments and medications and all of the things that come with ill health.
I feel like in this country, in the United States too, we have a backwards view on food, and we have this belief that we need to make our food as cheap as possible. Like how much money can I save in my food bill? It's something like in Europe, they spend like 20 to 30% of their income on their food. Here, I can't remember what the statistic is, but it's much lower than that. And what's key is going to be changing that belief. One, that's somewhat false information too, that it is more expensive, because we've come a long way in making organic, healthier foods more accessible. Maybe like 10 or 20 years ago, it may have cost you, I don't know, $2 extra for something organic versus non-organic, but there are a lot of different options now, and it's closed the price gap.
Yeah.
Now, that's not true for everything, but there are some things that you can do. Like you had talked about the clean 15 and the dirty dozen list. Follow that. Like, I will not buy strawberries outside of the summer because I'm not going to spend $9 for organic strawberries in the winter. And it's also really great to try to rotate what you eat seasonally. That's how we evolved to eat.
Yeah.
Is seasonally, because we didn't always have refrigerators. We didn't have trucks that are going to come and bring foods from California to South Carolina, or South Carolina to, wherever.
Yeah. From Mexico.
Or even outside of the United States. So if you focus on eating seasonally and eating organic, like I won't eat non-organic apples. So I usually only eat apples in the fall because they're in season. So they're just simple things that you can do in that sense, that's going to inherently save you money.
Yes.
And also be healthy for you.
Yes. And that is a fantastic point. I also eat the seasons, especially when it comes to my fruits and vegetables. And so, like right now, we have watermelons and berries and all kinds of melons, that are, and peaches and nectarines. Like, summer produce is heavenly, and everything goes on sale. I've actually been dropping weight recently because I put a little bit of COVID weight on last year, like 5 pounds, because I was kind of eating ice cream a little more than normal because I was stressed out. But I've noticed I'm like, my tummy's just flat again, and I'm losing weight just simply because I'm gorging right now on watermelons and blueberries and strawberries and, honeydew and cantaloupe. And if you guys haven't tried this, scoop your watermelon into a blender or any sort of a melon, and just hit blend. No water, don't add water. You could add ice if you want it to be cold. Try this stuff, it's so good. Just put it in your blender and blend it and drink it. It sounds weird, but it's like surprisingly refreshing. Well, especially if it's cold. You keep your fruit in your fridge and keep it cold. And like, just and you can drink your cantaloupe. It's retardedly good. So,
It's kind of like a smoothie, but without all the added stuff.
yeah.
Like no adding anything to it.
Yeah. And so I use that concept. Like my daughter is she did a lemonade stand and she got a snow cone maker. And so I'm like, okay, but we're not going to buy those nasty syrups. And so what healthy way can we make snow cones? And so we were like brainstorming. I was trying to have her come up with the idea, you know, because it's kids like things better when it's their idea.
Yeah.
And so we're going to play around with making like some fresh fruit juices like that and then putting them on our snow cones. And so it should be good. But all of the foods that I have chosen to avoid over the years for two reasons. I avoid them, number one, because they are just simply, they've gone toxic in our world. Or I replace them with an organic substitute, or I avoid them altogether because they are unhealthy for thyroid issues.
Mm-hmm. So
okay.
What are some of those?
Yeah. So I completely avoid soy, corn, dairy, gluten, eggs, and pork. And I don't sub anything in for those.
Now, what's with the pork? And is that specific to thyroid?
So pork has a substantially high amount of fat, and it's not the good fat. So when you eat bacon or you eat like pork sausage or you eat a hot dog, anything pork-based, it takes your body 14 to 16 hours to process it. And it's really hard on your system. And it also thickens your blood. And so it's very hard on just all of your organs, especially your liver, to process and digest. And the amount of time that it also like just stays in your system is it's just extremely hard on your body to process. But not to mention, a pig in general is just pigs are seen on a farm, like back in the day to our ancestors. They were seen on the farm as kind of like the garbage disposal. You know, they're like the natural garbage disposal. Like they were not created with a detox system in their body. Like pigs don't have armpits to sweat out their toxins, you know? And so anything a pig consumes, it holds onto and it goes into its tissues, and then you eat that. And so the majority of what farmed animals are fed, as you know, and that's why you were saying you eat grass fed, the majority of the feed that these animals get is like, and that's what you guys have to understand is the behind the scenes of why we avoid these things. It's also like what you said, it's not what you eat, it's what you ate. Okay. And so same thing with what you said about beef. That goes into farmed fish, chicken, and pigs. If they are being fed feed that's corn-based, and what did we just talk about? Corn. And then it's packed full of antibiotics because these animals get sick because they're confined. And then they're packed full of unnatural hormones, growth hormones, in order to be able to overproduce their animals. And then they're packed full of the herbicides and pesticides that you get from the genetically modified corn. If you just put all that together, that is a lot of the underlying reasons why you're going to avoid these foods as well.
And I will say that organic meats taste so much better than conventional meats. And quick story, we had my parents made a roast beef for Christmas. And I'm like, all right, I'll have a little bit of it. It wasn't grass-fed or anything like that. I took a couple bites and I was like, oh, this is kind of gross. And my brothers, who they eat standard American diet usually, they don't buy organic meats. My brother was like, wow, this is really good. And I'm like, Okay, it's really not, but when you're only used to eating a certain way and you've never tried really something else, you don't know the difference. But I encourage you to go out and try an organic piece of meat, and you will be surprised at how
Yeah.
good it tastes. And typically, when we're talking about cost too, you don't have to really eat as much of the organic as you would with the non-organic, one. And then two, most people overeat meat anyway. So just by cutting that down and switching to the organic, you're probably going to see the cost stay the same.
Yeah, good point. And like when you cut down on the meat, that's actually easier on your stomach too, because meat, I am fine with eating meat. I eat meat every day, but I don't eat it at every meal. And it's
Yeah.
also because it's really hard on your stomach to break down and digest.
Mhm.
And with thyroid sufferers, the majority of people have a very weakened stomach acid base, and it's just hard for them to digest anything that's hard. And so it's like they can't eat nut butters, they can't eat seeds, they can't eat even sometimes just a hard vegetable hurts them, you
Yeah.
know, and protein. I remember when I got to the point where I couldn't even eat ground beef because or chicken, it started just killing my stomach.
Yeah.
And so when I started really focusing on rebuilding my stomach, you know, I was able to bring it back in. And so, but
And
yeah, I always,
that's what you do with your clients too first, is you help them rebuild
yeah,
their stomach acids and then move
yeah,
on.
that's crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crucial because a part of the reason why they react to food is because their stomach blends, their mineral imbalances are off, which causes their stomach blends to be off. Then you can't properly digest your food or even like absorb the nutrients you need from it. So it's just kind of this big circle that always comes back to the imbalances.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, okay, some of the other things I avoid is farmed fish. I only eat wild caught.
Same.
Yeah. I try to avoid most, if not as many artificial sweeteners as I can.
Hmm.
I already touched on the canola oil. And then processed beet sugar. Beets are up there with corn. They were one of the original, like the OG foods that were genetically modified. Now, organic beets are not the same as like processed beet sugar. Organic beets that you cut up and you put on your salad are like heavenly, and I will eat those, you know. I try to avoid natural flavors because that's a hidden MSG, and there's tons of
Yeah.
health risks with that. And lastly is I try to avoid citric acid. So you can't confuse a processed citric, like a synthetic processed citric acid, with like a natural based citric acid that comes from like citrus, you know. And so citric acid, it actually blows holes in your intestines, which like micro holes, and which food can leak into your bloodstream.
Mm. Mm.
So that's the main reason why. So that is my top list of ingredients and foods that I avoid. But and it seems
Now,
like a lot.
can we go back to the beet thing? And were you saying beet sugar
Processed beet
specifically?
sugar. Yeah.
If it's organic beet sugar.
Well, we do know that the standards in order for them to claim to be organic are different.
For,
So
are you talking about for processed versus actual fresh?
yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, yeah. So it's like it's really hard to be able to encourage people to eat from the earth because you have to watch out from these foods from the earth that have been turned into franken foods,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But
I think we have a couple questions. If there was that first question that we had about the alcohol.
oh yeah, okay. Well, let's go through comments really fast. Comments and questions, since we got to jump off in a pretty soon. I got some stuff to get going on. Okay, just how bad is drinking in moderation? I have Hashimoto's and EBV, and I keep my diet really clean, but I do struggle with not having that glass of wine. So when I was on my personal healing journey, and I was doing everything I needed to do in order to like detox my diet and heal my stomach and all of the repair that was going into getting my body functioning properly again, I did cut out alcohol because it is hard on your liver, especially. Now, I do believe in not telling you guys how to live your life entirely like strict, you know, because if we completely eliminate everything and we're just really hard on ourselves all the time, then that's when it just gets overwhelming and you just want to give up, right? So I say you can moderate it down into here and there, but just be mindful of how often you're consuming it. You know, keep it as like a treat or celebration, but not like something you have to have. I would not encourage it as like an everyday thing until you're able to get your body back to a healthier place. And so how do you handle alcohol with your clients?
So it depends on the person. So ultimately we want to get to a healthier lifestyle. But if someone is used to consuming, you know, 2 glasses of wine every single night and they're not comfortable going cold turkey, then we'll kind of wean down.
Yeah.
Alcohol is not a health food. Even wine, it's not a health food. And my first question, honestly, would be, why is it difficult to not have that wine? Because usually there's some other emotional, psychological component to it. And when we dive into that, then we can maybe uncover a belief that's there that it's not true. You can get rid of that, and it makes the not having wine easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not always just about the nutritional thing. There's other things underlying that can be the reason why we're going towards things. And that's what, you know, like your food assessment, and I have the same one too, where it's like, what are we eating? How does it make us feel? And what are we doing before and after? Like, how are our emotions? Because our emotions can drive a lot of what we're consuming, whether it be who we're around, what we're consuming, you know, as far as social media, and what we're consuming as food and beverages. There's something else I wanted to say, but that's kind of like the gist of it. So definitely, I don't agree with cutting everything out and restricting things, because that usually leads to binging, and we want to enjoy life, and having a glass of wine every now and then is not going to kill us. But in the healing process, it is important to cut those things out temporarily at the very least so that our bodies can heal.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was in my healing process, I just paused. That's how I like to say it, is we take a pause on the things that assault our bodies, like soda, coffee, alcohol. We have to give our systems that break in order to be able to bring in the wellness that it's craving and screaming for. And so my biggest problem with alcohol is it's extremely dehydrating, like so dehydrating. And if you are dehydrating your detox pathways, then how are you going to detox? And if you can't detox, how are you going to get all of the toxins out of you and metals and the years of medication and everything that's built up in you that can be causing a lot of the health problems? So that's why you have to pause on it, so that you can bring in the healthier practices, like the lemon water and the fresh juices and the coconut water and the things that are going to support your system to actually want to start detoxing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
good supplements too can be
yeah,
helpful.
yeah, exactly. Let's see.
We have the other question is, what are the best substitutes for sugar?
Sugar. So fruit, okay, so let's think about that one because I hardly eat sugar. So are you meaning like in your drinks, in your food? Some sugar substitutes that I use. Oh, I know. Honey. I use
Yeah.
honey like all the time.
Raw honey.
Yes. Organic raw honey.
Yes.
Number one. My second substitute is maple syrup.
Yep.
And then I'll use vanilla bean as a sweetener. I will use dates. I'll use dates and bananas as a base, like a sweet base. If I'm gonna bake like during Christmas or something, then I will use like coconut sugar.
Yes, I use coconut sugar too.
Yeah.
Splenda, no. Run from Splenda.
No, no. That's an artificial sweetener. Stay away from artificial like
aspartame, which is Splenda.
Yeah, aspartame. I
Which
always
is from
say
a lot of diet sodas.
Yeah, let me see. So artificial sweeteners are a neurotoxin, and what that means is they can disrupt the neurons in your brain and your central nervous system. And so that means that they can cause the neurons in your brains that move the electrical impulses. It breaks them down. So, like, I remember my dad.
Illegal.
What's
why is it's kind of what that should be illegal. It's like, why is this allowed to be sold? Because that's how bad it is.
Seriously. Yeah. I remember when my dad he struggled with soda and he would drink Coke all the time, and he thought he was going to be healthier and switched to Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, and he started having massive migraines and headaches. Yep. And it was all like brain based. And so that's why it definitely that's why I'm saying like it affects your neurons. Yeah, so stick to organic raw honey, maple syrup, vanilla bean, coconut sugar, what did I say? Bananas, dates.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, just be mindful too that this is stuff that, like, you know, we help you when you work with us in our one-on-one coaching too. And know too that when you go through like a nutritional reset, if you're used to consuming a lot of sugar, just replacing it with like a lot of dates is not necessarily going to be helpful. What you're going to find is your tolerance for sweet stuff is going to go down. So you won't really need as much of that sugar to get that satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your taste buds recalibrate.
Yep.
And so, like when you start cleansing and detoxing, the things that you liked before, like chocolate, you'll be like, ugh, you know, like you change.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And these are the things that we help break down and go through in both of our programs. And they're phenomenal. Well, it's been an hour, so we should probably wrap it up.
Crazy. Like I said, we could talk forever.
I know, seriously, we love this stuff. We're such nerds.
I know. And thank you so much for the good questions. You know, this is just some stuff like, especially the Splenda question, we want to scream it from the rooftop, like, run away. So, great question.
Yeah, and the alcohol too. You know, I know these are real things that we're all struggling with, so
definitely.
I'm glad we could clarify.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Steph, for joining. You're the best.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. It's always fun.
Of course. We'll do it again soon. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.